Hello everyone, it's Dio from Firm But Fair Gaming, bringing you another Diablo 3 video. Today we're going to be covering a video on the followers. So in Season 23, the follower received a revamp and they changed it to where the follower could have 13 items equipped instead of the previous, I want to say like 6 or 7. And so what that has greatly changed the follower's utility, as well as the follower gained the ability to emanate certain items that they're wearing so that you would get the benefit from what your follower is wearing when you are in solo play. So let's cover the basics for a follower. Like, what are they? So when you're playing solo, like I am now, you can hire a follower and they will follow you around and be like a party member. So basically, where you can find them. So in Act 1, they are down in this bottom corner. So this is, of course, on adventure mode. In Act 2, we'll just jump around quickly and show you where they all are. So in Act 2, they're just down here in the bottom corner again. Act 3, in the stronghold here, they are in the top right, or I guess the right hand side. So they're down here. And then Act 4, still the same one. That's what I thought. I always get confused sometimes between which act is which for the two that sync up. And then for the last one here in Act 5, they are right here. So I'm going to go back to Act 1, since it's my favorite act. And basically, what you want to do is, so you can only have one of them hired at a time. So in order to do that, you just want to walk up to them. When you talk to them, you can hire them, or you can look at their inventory and skills. And so each one has a particular different set of skills, and some of them are unlocked at different levels, and it's your level because they level up as you do. And so basically, you would just walk up to them and then just hire them. So there I hired the scoundrel. And then if you want to hire someone else, then you just walk up to them and talk to them, and then you hire them, and it would replace. So for the, and then for me, it's the F key will bring up their inventory when I'm looking at my own. So for the Templar and the Scoundrel, they both have the levels 5, 10, 15, and 20 to unlock their talents, and whereas the Enchantress is 15, 20, 25, and 30 levels that you're required. And then up in their top slot here, where their the focus or the relic goes, their token goes up in the top there. They have to be a certain level to unlock that. So basically, as you are leveling or playing out in the adventure world, they will follow you around. They will attack targets that you attack, but more their utility is more based on the items that you can give them, which we'll get into a little bit later, that will buff you or enhance, like allow you to like gather more crafting materials, that sort of thing, or more utility when you're pushing in greater rifts. Ultimately, they are for survivability in function. So like they can wear NEMs, which emanates and helps you push in greater rifts and that sort of thing. So they're more of a utility than damage dealer, because eventually you will scale so much into greater rifts where they are not going to be of much use other than their utility and ability to help you progress. The Templar is basically a pocket healer, if you will. So they have abilities to heal and to taunt mobs off you. So this is more of a survivability. The Enchantress, her skills is more, she's got a couple auras where she can reduce your cooldown and add to your bonus damage. And they all have in their last tier here, they both have like a second life function. That's on a 2-minute CD, where basically if you were to die, they would heal you back to a certain percentage and keep you alive. So each one has that. And then the Scoundrel is more of a DPS buff where they can add crit, stun, and that sort of thing. And again, he has survivability function as well, or a second life as we call it. It is important to note that if you, the follower, because in their slot up here, like for the Templar, there are different relics that you can get just for that slot. So they can enable them to have access to all of their abilities. There's another one that reduces the cooldown on their abilities. And then there's another one that makes them unable to die. So if they do happen to die, they are on a 20-second respawn timer before they come back. So that's just something to note. And then the last thing here before we get into more detail about their builds and itemization is the items that they're wearing you get 20% of the bonus gold that they have, the gold find that they have, the magic find they have, and the plus 2 XP, 20%. So that is kind of, it gives you a little bit of a party buff because when you're playing with other people, you get that same buff. So it gives you a little bit of that party buff even though you were playing by yourself. When it comes to gearing your follower, there are a few different options because similar to you, they do have the 13 slots. As you can see, my follower here, the scoundrel, is all decked out. So there are a few different options. So let me just get rid of my chat box here because I just realized that it is covering some of the screen. So anyway, so they have the 13 different slots plus their token or here. So basically, as I was previously talking about, there are three different options that you could get for in their follower slot there. So they have equip, reduce the cooldown of their skills by 50%. They can't die, and then they've gained access to all their skills. So the 50% cooldown reduction and the gain access to all skills is probably viable up until, like, if you have it fully geared with the items in all 13 slots, so they have some survivability that might be viable till about GR 110-ish. And then after that, there'll be actual periods where they'll run into issues and die. If they aren't geared, so if you don't have armor in all their slots, so they don't really have much life, they'll be dying quite frequently. So if they're all decked out, you might be able to get away with one of the other two tokens that go in their slot. But if you're pushing higher than that, I strongly recommend using the one where they can't die. In fact, I pretty much just always throw it in so that they can't die because sometimes they do get stand-in explosions or stuff. So rather than risk it, I just always try to get the follower can't die so that they're always there. So that being said, the follower has a few, or I guess one main mechanic is that, so if you see here, let me just find one. So like for this, so their crippling shot at the second half of it, it's like, so range attacks to deal 140% damage and slows enemies by 80% for X duration. So it says 6 seconds based on the scoundrel's dexterity. So each follower has an ability or has several abilities that rely on their main stats. So the scoundrel's dex, the Templar is strength, and the enchantress is intelligence. So in order to maximize that, you have to get their base stat to over 25,000. So that basically means you got to equip it with all 13 slots. So I guess 14 when you count the token there. And it needs to add up to over 25,000 in order to get the max benefit on the skills. That can largely be done with, I would say, mostly just normal items. Maybe you might need one or two ancients. But 25,000 should be easily achievable with all of these items here. You don't have to augment any of them to reach that ability, but you do want to hit that 25,000 mark in order to get the big benefit from the follower. So when we look at the actual items that the follower wears, there's a few variations. So it kind of depends on what your objective is, if you're using it primarily for farming and when you're using it for pushing, and if you want to change their itemization while you're between the different activities. I will say that the mandatory items that you will want, especially if you're pushing GRs, is that they cannot die. You will want them to be wearing the flavor time because it emanates, so that makes the pylon effects last twice as long. You'll want the Nemesis bracers, so every time you click a pylon, it spawns a champ pack. This is key for being able to progress in solos. And then you'll also want them to be wearing an Oculus ring, and you want to try to get the 85% roll on that. So whenever you're standing in the nice glowy circle, the gold circle on the ground, you're dealing 85% more damage. That is huge. I was pushing the other day on my Witch Doctor and didn't realize that I had not equipped the Oculus ring into my follower. And I was struggling or like barely timing a 130, and then I put on the ring and I was easily crushing 135. So it does make a huge difference. Don't forget that. Sometimes it happens if you have multiple accounts, or not accounts, but characters, and you're rotating gear through your followers. Just make sure that you always re-equip the essential items. So those I would say are the mandatory ones. And then now is where the build kind of breaks off a little bit, and you can, depending on what you want to do, you can equip various other items. So when I'm pushing in GRs, I would like to have my layer crown, and then I put in the ruby in there for the extra experience, because of course I get 20% of the plus experience from my followers, so I want that. And I'm also wearing the Kane's Destiny set here for also the extra XP. So I'll be wearing that to get the bonus XP. And then I'm rocking the Ring of Royal Grandeur so that I can only have to wear 2 pieces. And then the other items here, the other set that I'm wearing is for the double death breast. So this is for when I'm easily switching between doing GRs and doing regular rifts. So there's generally a lot of elites in when I'm farming that way. So it just gives me lots of death breaths that way. And also this is also going to give me extra keystones so I don't have to run as many NAF rifts in the future. The next thing that I like to have is I like to wear the homing pads here for the shoulders because I like being able to teleport to town uninterrupted. So this is just nice for them to wear so that at any point if I just want to jump to town, I don't have to kill everything on screen. I can just start the TP and I will be fine. For the chest piece, I just like wearing this. So usually I wear this and on my gold farm set, so it just helps generate more gold. So when I'm in power and rifts later, that I have a huge surplus. Alternatively, if you are short on gems, you can always wear the broken crown on the follower because it emanates as well. So that helps with my gem farming. And also, if I want a little bit more gold and I don't need any death breaths, I could wear the gladiator gauntlets. So this is just after massacre bonus. So this is only applicable if I'm doing bounties because you can't get a massacre bonus when you're in a greater rift or in a nef rift. And then also some other variations or other items that some people wear is you could use the gloves of worship. So that basically means the shrine effects last for 10 minutes. But you just keep in mind that means the shrine, not the like a pylon. So the shrine effects is like the occasional ones you find where it's like plus 25 XP and those sorts of things, the blessings, if you will. So that is what increases that to 10 minutes. I could be wearing this, and I probably should be. So the blind belts for the Court of the Sherma. So chance on hit to create a chaos field that blinds and slows enemies. So I should probably be wearing that. Oh, never mind. That's why I was wearing that because that doubles the death breath. So if I was to push in GRs where there are no death breaths, I'd be equipping that belt because then it has a chance to just add the utility of blinding the enemies as I'm progressing through the rift. You could also be wearing the helm here. So the Blind Faith helm also has the same effect. So there, if you see the secondary's got the 30% chance to blind on hit. I could also have that on my follower as well, just to increase the utility of the follower and add that CC effect. Personally, I'm able to go just fine through, like I've already cleared a 150 solo, so I don't need the extra survivability utility. So instead, I'm putting a preference on the XP that I'm generating from the Leoric's helm. There are a couple different options if you, so this is the Scoundrel build. So if I was to use a Templar, what I like to do for the Templar, because they can taunt, like they have a taunt ability here. Yeah, charges and it kind of stuns all enemies. And so the Templar in this one here, intervene, it can taunt. So the reason that I'm just mentioning this is so for the Templar, you can make them have Thunder Fury. So a chance on hit to blast your enemy. And then I like to wear the Werewolf hers, so it increases. So anytime lightning damage, it has a 1.5% chance to stun. Or sorry, 25% chance to stun for 1.5 seconds. And also, if they block, I like to use the freeze of deflections because then I try to get it to max here. So just if so that extra CC. So if I was pushing a GR and was finding that I was having trouble surviving, I would be using my Templar. And then this is how I would equip them because on some cases, like when I'm fighting Rift Guardians, you can just see them CC or stun the Rift Guardian in particular. Like you'll get a lightning proc and stun it, then he'll block and stun it, and so then you just have to like get extra CC on the Rift Guardian. You don't have to worry about dodgy mechanics when they're stunned and that sort of thing. So it's just helpful that way. And they, of course, they do it as you progress all the way through the GR. The other ring that I just wanted to touch on briefly is if you are farming XP. So for me, I could get rid of the Ring of Royal Grandeur. I could equip the hands here to complete the 3-piece for my XP for the Kane's Destiny set. And then I could also be wearing a Leoric Signet to also increase my XP farm if I wanted to. There is one last ring that I almost forgot. So Unity here, there are some builds that really pay off for survivability if you equip Unity yourself, because Unity has, of course, is all damage taken split between wearers of this item. And then it also has built-in damage against elites. So if you're wearing this item and then you give your follower it, half the damage you receive is redirected to the follower. So it's basically like a 50% damage mitigation. And then your follower, of course, should be wearing the they can't die. So you're just permanently got that 50% damage reduction buff. And that is pretty useful for some builds that are a little bit squishier than others that need that extra survivability in order to push into the higher GRs. So this wraps up the video here on the followers. I hope you have learned something and that there's some information that you didn't know before. I know I keep learning something a little bit new each and every week that I'm playing this game, so I learned a couple things about followers in the past couple weeks, so I just thought I'd share this quick breakdown. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know below. If there's also some interesting builds that you have for your followers that you like to use, let me know. I'm always interested to see what everybody else is doing out there. So as always, we appreciate any likes and subscribes, and hope you guys are enjoying season 25 that's currently active right now, and good luck this week, and we'll see you at the next one.